Welcome to Isaac's Knives and Knowledge YouTube channel. Today we are checking out this really cool survival knife from Ba-Kor Knives. That's B-A-K-O-R. You can find these over on Amazon. Not sure if they're sold anywhere else or not, but this is a pretty beastly knife that we're looking at here. So we got around a 6.5-inch blade, weighing in close to a pound, 14 and a half, 15 ounces, somewhere around there. It's a 1/4 inch thick, and it's got these kind of sawback design on the spine there. I could do without that, but it's there. So we're going to try it out, see if it can actually saw anything. And here we go. And go, and go, and go. Now it only has about 4 teeth on it, so it didn't do much of anything. So they're for show, not for use. Now, with this 6.5-inch blade and close to a pound in weight, I think you can do some chopping with this knife, guys. And we're going through this piece of fence board that was left over from redoing some of my fence earlier this summer, and I really like the way that it's chopping through this. So if you're out in the woods on a camp trip, whatnot, and you need to chop off some limbs from a tree for firewood and whatnot, this knife will do pretty great at that task with the way that it's chopping and biting down into this board. It came with a pretty sharp edge on it, and I'm pretty impressed with this knife. So we're getting way down in there. I didn't want to chop all the way through because the knife just gets stuck, in that thin notch there, and your hand can get in there and bang yourself up and all that. So we flip the board over and finish chopping all the way through this board from the other side. The blade steel on this knife is 9CR18 MOV, which is a higher quality Chinese blade steel. A little more oomph in it than like your 7 and 8 CRs and all that. Now this blade is thick down to the tip. So we're doing a little prying here, just stabbing it in to the rest of this board. We'll check it out here, see if there's any damage. Now I do notice a little nick in the edge here from chopping through, but we're going to continue on here. And this tip, it's going nowhere. This knife is pretty thick all the way down to the tip. So if you need to do some stout work, this knife can get it done. And boom. Nice little toss, downward toss right into this stump. So I would say it's relatively well balanced as well. So we're going to cut through some cord, after that batoning, that wood chopping. This edge is still cutting this cord with ease. So I would say this 9CR holds an edge pretty good. I was definitely impressed here with the little effort that it took to cut that. And we'll continue right on through that thicker cordage here as well. And this knife, it's performing pretty darn good here. But look at that. After that chopping, batoning, when cutting that cord, I did notice that the handle scales loosened up. So, that's a slight problem, depending on how you define problems. I just wanted you to look at those handle scales, man. That's a really nice green and black color. Here's a knife in the sheath, Kydex, with belt attachment there. You can see how it juts out like that. Decent setup. Good texture on the G10 here. Now we'll do another test on the edge here. How about we pound that edge with a mallet into a brick? Don't usually see stuff like this on my channel, but I figured, what the heck? Why not? Let's test out that edge. Let's see if we can get a huge chunk out of it here and see if this brick can cause some real damage to this knife. We're checking it out there. There's no chunks flying out of this blade, just flying off of the brick, which is exactly what we want. Okay, guys, you have seen this Ba-Kor knife in action. So let's go to some final thoughts here. The sheath. I like the sheath. It seems to be good quality. It holds the knife well. This belt attachment here, I don't like that. Don't like that. It's super flimsy. I haven't even put it on my belt just because I don't like it. Yeah, don't like that. So plan, I would say, you know, you might like it. I don't care if you like it. I don't like it. But for me, like I would put some other belt attachment on this knife if I was going to carry it. Okay, so you saw it work. This is a thick knife. Did well batoning. Did pretty awesome chopping that board. Complaints about that? Handle scales loosened up, so they're not epoxied, is what that tells me. They're just they're bolted on, so we'll tighten those here. Yeah, I don't think I have the hex torque wrench or this size handy right now, so I have to do that later. But yeah, they came loose. So maybe if you get this knife and plan for it to be a hardcore chopper, you may want to put some epoxy on the handle scales to hold those in place a little better. But you know, the handle, love the color of this G10, this green and black. That's pretty cool. Like that a lot. Very comfortable. Great handle design. These stupid things, they're useless. Useless. I tried, you know, making a little notch, but you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 teeth. You're not sawing much of anything with that. So these are aesthetics, I guess, if you like that type of thing. This would be a much better knife without these teeth on the top. I love the way this clip point is shaped. Just a slight kind of clip and downward curve there, not super deep, where it would really thin out that tip. Nice and thick on this knife all the way to the tip. So it makes a really strong tip. You saw me stabbing it into the board and trying to do some prying. Yeah, definitely no bending this knife. Now, all that chopping and then chopping into the brick, we do have some edge damage. And I expected that. We're chopping into a rock, for goodness sake. But it is nothing that won't sharpen out. You know, we're going to take this to coarse stone over here and get that edge back to being sharp and not have any damage in there. So if I did that to see if, you know, we would get a big chunk out of this edge, and we did not. So I hammered it in a few times and chopped on that paver, and I'd say this knife is good to go. So, you know, you get this knife, I'll put a link for Amazon. Don't like that. Don't like that the handle scale came loose, but they're both very fixable problems. All right, nothing huge here that would say this is a bad knife. So check it out on Amazon. This is Ba-Kor, B-A-K-O-R knives. Take it easy. We'll see you on the next video.